Right now, you are feeling something. Maybe it is a low hum of anxiety you cannot quite name. Maybe it is a restless craving for something you cannot identify. Maybe it is a sudden flash of jealousy, or loneliness, or the strange, hollow feeling that shows up even when life looks fine from the outside. You call it your inner world. You trust it. You build your decisions around it. But what if those feelings were never actually about you? What if your emotions are not windows into who you are, but ancient software written for a completely different world? This is not a metaphor. This is what the science is beginning to show. Your emotions were not designed to make you happy. They were not designed to make you wise. They were designed to keep a terrified, hungry, half-naked primate alive in a landscape that wanted to kill it every single day. And that primate is gone, but the software is still running. Think about the last time you felt deep social anxiety before speaking to a group of strangers. Your heart sped up, your palms went wet, your mind started scanning for threats, for exits, for the fastest way to disappear. That response was written into your nervous system roughly 200,000 years ago. Back then, social rejection was not embarrassing. It was fatal. A human alone on the savannah, cast out from the tribe, was a dead human. Your brain learned that lesson so deeply it branded it into your biology. So your body throws a survival alarm every time someone might judge you, even if you are just presenting a quarterly report in a conference room. That is the trick. The emotion is real. The threat is not. Lisa Feldman Barrett, a neuroscientist at Northeastern University who has spent decades studying how emotions are made, argues that the brain is not a passive reactor to the world. It is a prediction machine. It is constantly pulling from the past to guess what is about to happen, and then it generates a feeling to match that guess. Your brain is not telling you the truth about the present. It is telling you a story assembled from the past. And most of that past is ancient. So when you feel a surge of rage at someone who cut you off in traffic, your brain is not accurately reporting on a minor driving incident. It is firing a threat response calibrated for a creature that needed to defend territory to survive. The intensity of what you feel has almost nothing to do with the actual stakes of the moment. It is borrowed from a world that no longer exists. But here is where it gets stranger. Jealousy. That hot, corrosive feeling that arrives when someone you love pays attention to someone else. It feels profound. It feels meaningful. It feels like it is telling you something important about love and loyalty and what you deserve. But researchers like David Buss at the University of Texas have spent years mapping the evolutionary roots of jealousy, and what they found is almost uncomfortably mechanical. Jealousy exists because reproduction was the only game that mattered for millions of years. It evolved as a surveillance and mate-guarding system, a primal alarm designed to detect the possibility of being abandoned or replaced before you could pass on your genes. It was never about love. Love did not exist when jealousy was being built. Jealousy is a program that predates love by millions of years, and now it runs inside relationships it was never designed to understand. This does not mean jealousy is not painful. It is. It means the pain has almost nothing to do with the actual situation triggering it. The same is true for the emotion that psychologists call negativity bias, which is arguably the most consequential evolutionary lie your brain tells you every single day. Your brain pays roughly twice as much attention to negative information as it does to positive information. A harsh criticism lands 5 times harder than a compliment of equal size. A single bad day can overshadow a week of good ones. This asymmetry is not a personal flaw. It is not a sign that something is wrong with you. It is the predictable result of millions of years of survival math. In a dangerous world, missing a threat could kill you. Missing an opportunity just meant you had a worse day. So your brain became relentlessly, obsessively focused on what could go wrong. And now, in a world where most of your threats are social and symbolic rather than physical, that bias is still running at full volume. It colors everything. It makes the present feel more dangerous than it is. It makes the past feel heavier than it was. It makes the future look darker than it needs to. Neuroscientist Rick Hansen, who has studied the structural effects of negativity bias on the brain, describes it this way. The brain is like Velcro for negative experiences and Teflon for positive ones. That metaphor is almost too clean, because it understates how deeply the asymmetry runs. It is not just that bad things feel worse. It is that your entire perception of reality is being quietly tilted by a survival mechanism that has not been updated since the Pleistocene. And then there is fear, the oldest emotion in the biological record. The one that appears in creatures hundreds of millions of years before anything recognizable as a human ever walked the earth. Your fear response is so old that it does not even pass through the thinking part of your brain on its first pass. When something frightens you, the signal goes through the amygdala, a small almond-shaped structure deep in your brain that operates faster than conscious thought. You flinch before you know why. You freeze before you decide to. You feel terror before any rational evaluation of actual danger has taken place. Joseph Ledoux, a neuroscientist at NYU who spent his career mapping the fear circuit, called this the low road, a shortcut that bypasses reasoning entirely because, in the ancient world, stopping to think could mean stopping to exist. That system is still routing your fear responses today. When you feel dread about opening your email. When your chest tightens at the idea of having a difficult conversation. When you lie awake at 3 a.m. cataloging everything that could possibly go wrong in your life, your amygdala is treating these things the same way it would treat a predator moving through tall grass. The urgency is identical. The biology is identical. The only thing that has changed is the actual danger level, which is almost always close to zero. Here is the part that is easy to miss. The problem is not that these emotions exist. The problem is that you were never taught they were predictions rather than facts. You were never told that a feeling is not a measurement of what is actually true. You grew up in a world that treated emotions as honest reports from the self, as direct lines to reality. Anger means something is wrong. Fear means something is dangerous. Sadness means something has been lost. But the research paints a far more complicated picture. Emotions are hypotheses. They are your brain's best guess about what is happening based on everything it has encountered before. And most of what it has encountered before was written in a world almost unrecognizable to the one you actually live in. This reframe changes everything. Because if your jealousy is not a verdict about your relationship but a prediction assembled from evolutionary programming, you can examine it differently. If your social anxiety is not an accurate signal about how people see you, but a threat response calibrated for a world that no longer exists, you have room to question it. If your negativity bias is not an honest audit of your life, but an asymmetric filter installed by survival math, you are allowed to push back on it. None of this makes the feelings less real. Pain is real whether its source is ancient or modern. But there is a difference between a feeling that is real and a feeling that is true. Your ancestors felt what you feel. The same surges of dread, the same longing, the same irrational anger, the same hollow ache of not knowing why you feel what you feel. Those emotions kept them alive. Those emotions built families and tribes and civilizations. They were useful in ways that are hard to fully comprehend from where you stand now. But they were tools built for a world that is gone, and you are still carrying every single one of them. Tonight, when you feel that familiar anxiety creeping in for no reason you can name, You will know something your ancestors never had the chance to know. That feeling is not the truth. It is a very old guess. And you do not have to believe every guess your ancient brain makes just because it feels urgent. The emotions are real, but the world that built them is gone. And that small piece of knowledge might be the most useful thing evolution never managed to give you.